Hello, everybody. Welcome to the I'm Not Crazy podcast. My name is Andrew. I'm your host. And today, it's the season for returning.
From the dead?
I wish. I miss you, Grandpa. This is the episode that Josie's comes back on this episode.
Back.
I just fell apart. Yeah, welcome back. If I sound a little scratchy, I had a throat issue and I am no longer throating, so I'm good. Yeah, so I was sick. I'm not sick now, or I have the little remnants of being sick. I am, when you knock down a building, I'm the dust in the air. That's
Asbestos?
I am asbestos. It's raining here in the city. It's 40 and cloudy. Make sure you avoid the BQE. There is an accident on the right side, which will probably be gone by the time this episode comes out. So that's
the construction won't be, though.
No, they're always doing construction.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I can't believe you remember when they said the bridge was gonna be free, and there's still who
I've been
would have
hearing
thought?
about that my whole life. The bridge was
The
supposed
whole
to
life,
be
the
free.
bridge is gonna be free, and then I got paid $35 to go over the bridge. It's crazy, you know? New York. We're not going to New York. We're going to Virginia today, not West Virginia. We're going to Virginia.
West Virginia.
No.
Okay.
So today, the best way that I could put it is that today is a good example of why the fuck West Virginia ran away from Virginia. We're going to see all the bad reasons why Virginia is a terrible
They
state.
didn't run that far, though.
They ran right next to it. They were like, we're going. And then they just kind of made a line in the sand. They were like, but we're not going far. And just up the Appalachians really quick.
The horse ran out of gas.
I think that's West Virginia. On this, you got to put this closer to your mouth. There you go. Today we're going to be talking about the Staunton Strangler. And the Staunton Strangler is going to be really fun. It's a really fucked up story. But it has to do with a psychic. So we're back with another psychic episode. So I figured, what better person to get back for the psychic episode than Jose, who was on the psychic episode last time when we covered Rosemary Kerr.
I am not a psychic, though.
He is not a psychic that I know of.
No confusion.
Also, last episode with him, it was, again, Rosemary Kerr and the murder of Andre Deigel. Go check that out. And if you do, you will know that Jose promised to bring coasters and things from his lifestyle brand, which we will be plugging at the end of the episode, even though he brought nothing. So go for that. Before we start, make sure you... I'm Not Crazy New York is the Instagram. I'm Not Crazy Podcast is the TikTok and the YouTube. If you're not listening on YouTube, if you're listening on, if you're watching on YouTube, fucking thanks for subscribing and all that shit. So now that that's all out of the way,
Ring the notification bell so you know when a new episode drops.
Fuck yeah, that's great advice. Honestly, you're great.
Yeah. If you're an iPhone user, go into general settings and notifications.
Hell yeah. And make sure you mail me money just in an envelope. So, the intro. 1979, a man would go on a crime spree that would strike fear in the hearts of the tight-knit community of Staunton, Virginia. Young women were being sexually assaulted by a man with a stocking obscuring his vag, and worst of all, it was in their own homes. The man would find open windows to climb in, sometimes waiting for hours for the right time to strike. It was clear to authorities it was only a matter of time before he would go from rapist to killer. It only took 10 minutes to get to the word rapist, but all leads would go nowhere until a psychic named Noreen Renier led police... is that? Whatever. Noreen Renier led police down the road they would catch the culprit. Join us as we dive into the fascinating story of the Staunton Strangler.
Staunton Stalker?
Stalker, fuck! He didn't strangle anyone. Stop clapping, I'm wrong.
I was very confused.
The Staunton Stalker,
wait,
yeah.
Where does Strangler come from?
This story is going to follow a disgusting man who is a serial rapist.
Mm-hmm.
And by serial rapist, I don't mean he raped a couple times. He was raping often.
Nothing to do with, like, Cheerios, though.
What? What are you talking
Serious.
What? Fuck you. So he didn't kill anybody, but it was very obvious by the escalation of violence every time he was going to eventually wind up killing someone. So it was just this weird race to figure out who the fuck this guy was before he killed somebody. And that's where I'm going to leave you, and the rest of the story is really fascinating and sad. But today we're going to get to our sources first, as always. This week's episode came from yet another show. Psychic investigators. Now, we watched this last time. This is where we got the idea for the episode with Andre Daigel's murder. And where that episode was a murder case where a psychic was there to more or less like speak to the dead and find out what happened. This is we're going to see the difference between a medium and a psychic now by this story. Whereas a medium was more or less reaching out to the dead, whereas the psychic is going to take an object from someone who's still living, none of these people died, and more or less get to see an event in time from it. Cool difference, but it is different. As with the last episode that inspires the show, as I said, there's more story that can fit in the 24-minute episode. And that's where my main source comes in. A 10-part expose by journalist Jeff Schweiner detailing the true story of what happened in Staunton over that fateful year. He is a writer for the Newsletter, which is the paper that has been around since, I believe, the 1860s in this town. Let's just jump right into it, as Philip DeFranco would say, that fucking weirdo. So, Staunton in 1979. This week, we're going to Virginia, as I said. Not West Virginia, unfortunately. West Virginia, no.
No country roads?
No, we're going to Race's father today.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, Mountain Mama's sleeping. She drank too much last night. So, until 1979, Staunton was a typical American town with a storied history and many important citizens. A few of important members included past President Woodrow Wilson from Staunton, Virginia, and famed metal drummer Shannon Lucas, which I found out while on the phone with Vin. And he is from the band Black Dahlia Murder, which eventually will be something we cover. So I just thought that was fun.
Interesting.
The town was known for its middle-class suburbs, close-knit community, kind of place that there was generations, and their Southern comfort family values. But, just like most American towns in the 1970s, under the surface layer of religious household bliss lay a bunch of buried secrets. For one, the town was home to Western State Hospital, a mental hospital which opened its doors in 1828. In 1924, the state of Virginia passed both the Racial Integrity Act and the Virginia Sterilization Act of 1924, which first made interracial marriage illegal to preserve the purity of race, quote unquote, and also legalized forced sterilizations, meaning anyone deemed to have undesirable traits such as mental illness or deficiency, or, being black, would be involuntarily sterilized. The eugenics movement during this time was gigantic. And in the early 1900s, right, literally before the Nazis took it, I would say maybe a tad too far,
Just a little bit.
I would say a lot of it. They really pushed that limit. Some would say there is no limit after them, but that's beside the point.
I don't think anyone's ever pushed it that far.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hitler was a persistent one. Yeah. So the movement was huge all around the world before that, because the idea was we could use science, quote unquote, to get rid of what we deem as impure in society. So basically, that meant if you weren't a white Christian, there was something deemed wrong with you, and you would be forcibly sterilized if they got any excuse to. Anything. You would just be thrown somewhere and just injected with shit and lobotomies and shock therapy. Crazy, horrible shit, right? The eugenics movement was huge during the first half of the 20th century, like I said, with Dr. Joseph Desjarnette. I don't know, I feel like that's how you say it, but Desjarnette, being both the director of Western State Hospital and one of the leading voices in the United States eugenics movement. Just to show you where this guy was at, he was quoted as saying the following, and I quote, "Germany in 6 years has sterilized about 80,000 of her unfit, while the United States, with approximately twice the population, has only sterilized 27,869 in the past 20 years. The fact that there are 12 million defectives in the U.S. should arouse our best endeavors to push their procedure to the maximum. The Germans are beating us at our own game." And he said this in 1938.
So before World War II.
Barely. Yeah. I mean, barely. Yeah. This is like, wow, Hitler's real scary. And he was like, I don't know, guys. He might be onto something.
Oh, yeah. But where was he even getting this number from? 12 million people?
Basically nowhere. That's a great point. All of this is founded off of nothing. It's the type of thing where they would just find any excuse because you were something they deemed to be,
Well, they did it to the gays, too, yeah.
They did do it to the gays.
Alan Turing.
Alan Turing.
He broke the Nazi code.
Oh, yes. And he was gay and he killed himself.
Well, first, after winning the war
wink, wink,
for the Allies, his own country had him sterilized.
Yep.
It was that or go to jail. They believe because of like hormone imbalance and stuff, he went a little off the rails and killed himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it wasn't for him...
I wouldn't even say the hormones. Imagine if you put your entire life into saving the country that you live in, and then they were like, yeah, but you're like a spawn of Satan, so let's make sure you can't shoot that cock. Even though it's did they know gay men can't get pregnant from gay sex? Like, why are they sterilizing him? Where is he putting his genes?
I guess then you're not horny. Like,
I don't think that's how that works, though.
But if they cut your balls off, like,
I don't think that we are the same as like pit bulls. I don't think you just cut it off and it's just like, well, I'm really interested in hobbies now. I've never.
But that's your only source of testosterone. You know? So without the testosterone, your sex drive takes a hit. You can't.
I don't think that that's true because women.
But they have they have estrogen. Yeah.
So do we though.
Yeah, but we have very low doses of
drink soy milk.
I was just gonna say, don't ask for soy at Starbucks. Bro.
Honestly, that's hot. I want my titties to get nice, big, and round, juicy. You know,
bigger
like
than
Richard.
They are?
Do you know Richard Chase? Do you know who Richard Chase is? Not Richard Chase. No, it's the wrong person. There's a serial killer. He went to prison, and I forgot his name, but he ended up doing. They did an expose, and he was like a really big serial killer in the '60s, and then in like the '80s, they did this whole thing about how like prisons have.
John Wayne Gacy?
No. They showed him in prison, and he had somehow gotten access to like they were just doing straight up drugs and like playing cards all day, and like it wasn't a jail, they were just having parties, like it was fun. And he was using hormones to grow tits because he turns out he loved fucking men, and he just became just the jailhouse fuck doll.
Another gay serial killer.
Honestly, it's kind of hot. So this led Western State Hospital to be an absolute nightmare, akin to the asylum seen in American Horror Story. Do you remember that season?
That was a great season.
This is basically what that's based off of. Scary as fuck.
That's rough.
But once the Nazis took things to their limits, with the fucking Holocaust, and I don't know if you heard of it, and the Holocaust was brought to light showing the dangers of eugenics, the hospital stopped, right? Wrong. They continued until the 1970s when the Sterilization Act was finally overturned. Leading into the next issue with this town, blatant racism. You know how I said the Sterilization Act was overturned in the 70s? Remember when I said that?
Like
just now?
30 seconds ago?
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
You remember that, guys? Okay. Well, the Racial Integrity Act, the one that said you technically it was illegal for interracial marriages, right? It didn't get the same treatment until being overturned in 2005. When it was finally overturned, and then they condemned it, and they went, it was just to cover racism. That's why it was there. It wasn't actually science. And it's like, it took you until 2005.
It was 17 years ago.
The fuck? Yeah, it's crazy. The town has had a long history, also, of treating the black community with the least amount of respect that they are legally required to as a government, which we will see later in this case. But basically, the black community was just straight up. They had no funding. They were cut off totally. They couldn't even open up schools in some cases. Everything was segregated heavy. Virginia, heavy segregation. So it was just a real awful fucking place.
I feel like Virginia is also historically pretty
real
poor.
Bad. Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah, baby. Tell him. Benjamin agrees. Weirdly, all of the racism and Nazis, it all ties into
racist Nazis.
What a place like this could produce. And Woodrow Wilson and the metal drummer aren't the only people from Staunton, Virginia. It turns out this all leads to another famous citizen of Staunton, Eustace Mullins, who was a big, you know who this is?
Of course. Who doesn't know Eustace Mullins?
Man, I'm happy that people don't know who Eustace Mullins is. But Eustace Mullins is behind a conspiracy theory that everyone is aware of because of how stupid it is, and it's becoming prominent again. So Eustace Mullins somehow manages to encompass everything that's wrong with this town and at the time Virginia. And this is probably, I couldn't think of a better person to put as this is what I mean guy. Okay, it's fine. It's gonna keep shaking. It's gonna keep shaking.
My ADD. All right.
So he was a white supremacist, anti-Semitic, eugenics-loving, Holocaust denier who gained fame in the 50s with his idea that there was a world government made of top Jewish elites of the world. This man is basically the beginning of the idea in the world of conspiracy theories that there is a Jewish elite like the Illuminati or the Bilderberg Group. Literally, he was the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah, I
He's
heard
the one.
Kanye say this like a week ago.
He's the one that started this. He's the one that was like, no, this is what's happening in modern day America. So like where the Jews were always persecuted as like, again, Holocaust is a good example. They were gassed. Like they're just persecuted for being Jews. Like it's just, you're just bad because you're Jewish. And it's just like, I didn't pick this. It's a generational thing. It's the oldest one, The Jews got targeted heavy in this. Jewish people, I'm sorry. Michael Rappaport, my bad. Yeah, so this man was basically the beginning of ideas, shining light on the reasons why the Jewish people always end up being the problem in the root of conspiracy theories is almost entirely traced down to people like Eustace Mullins of this time. So there's a handful of people from this time. He is one of them. He also wrote a bunch of books that are still being, used, whatever. Really crazy world that you go deep enough in, you get to like fucking like Ruby Ridge and you get to all the crazy right-wing conspiracy shit. Oklahoma City, like the bombings and then Waco and all that shit. Like it just leads you to crazy, really like a dangerous route to go down if you're susceptible to believing random shit. But anyway, the town was racist and backwards, as I said. And like most towns at that time in America, like to keep their problems a secret to avoid what others may think. And this is going to be a trend. So when I say that this town would like to keep a secret, I don't mean the people of the town necessarily. I mean the people in charge of the town. So the politicians, the police, and the media. Politicians, police, and papers. The three of them managed to cover this up entirely just because they're like, yeah, but we don't want everyone to know we got a rapist. That's what it boils down to. It's disgusting. Yeah. So now that you have context, let's go back to 1979. Or forward. We were just in the 50s, so I guess forward to 1979. The masked man would break into a few homes in March 15th. It's my birthday. But something curious was observed.
Was it on March 15th?
It was, actually. The 14th. The 15th was the day that the news refused to report on it. Oh. Anyway, the masked man would break into a few houses in March. But something curious was observed. The man seemed to only be stealing the underwear and leaving behind most valuables. Turns out it was SpongeBob and Patrick, with Mr. Krabs doing a panty raid. This would go on for a few months, totally ignored by the police department, when finally the masked man would escalate and rape a couple of women during the usual break-in. So he would break in and then he would start assaulting women and not full-on raping them. Like he would just start being like kind of violent, pushing them around.
So he had a stockpile of panties first, and then he was
very
like,
slowly escalated. Okay. Very slowly escalated, yeah. And we'll find out. Obviously, we know who did this. That's the whole point. Is the psychic supposedly played a role in that. And the person that did this had gotten arrested when they were younger for burglary and breaking into houses. So there's a long history of escalation here, where it was slowly making its way up to be more and more violent, to the point that it was ending with him. By the time this all came to a head, he was holding women by knife point to the throat, with the knife against their throat, raping them literally. Like, it was wild.
So eventually it would have escalated to murder.
Eventually it would have been like, if you're familiar with true crime, the Boston Strangler, it's probably Albert DeSalvo is his name. He ended up, he would murder old ladies, and this is blinking and driving.
Is it? Now that's blinking.
This is dying.
Skull is flapping all over.
Flapping. Like my pussy. He would murder women. Him and his cousin. I forgot his cousin's name. Kenneth Bianchi. I'm a fucking maniac. And the two of them would murder women, old women specifically, and they would tie them up and leave them in like very like... The best way I could put it is dramatic positions for people to find them. So they would be like legs up and spread, like crazy, disgusting shit. And they would use their like undergarments and like shit like that to tie them up. It was their MO. Basically, they escalated the exact same way. They started breaking into houses, then they started breaking in, stealing stuff, then breaking in and, violently accosting the people there, and then eventually raping women, and then eventually killing women. The police, after the couple of women got raped, it was 2 women, the police would very quietly investigate, but with no leads, and the victims claiming they didn't know the person, they said it was a total stranger, they quickly gave up without alerting the public or the media about what was going on. they internally have determined we have a serial rapist. This is a problem. We need to. There was one person going around breaking into houses trying to assault women, but they didn't tell anyone in the public. So everyone was still leaving their windows open in a hot summer.
So it wasn't in the papers or anything?
Nowhere. No one would report it. So, like, and they were making it out like anybody that was talking about it was like, oh, you know, whatever. It's random. It happens. And they were still sleeping with their windows open. And he would literally cut the screen, come in, shut the window. There was no signs of break-ins. There was no evidence left behind. He wore gloves. He wore a mask. And he wore a stocking over his face. Again, like when SpongeBob robbed the bank.
Yeah. Wonder if it was like the first stocking, like from the first.
It was the first stocking ever on a foot. So he got it on eHay. It was the eBay back in the day. Wow, bars. So yeah, basically they didn't tell anybody. So people were just leaving their windows open still, and no one was aware that there was a problem. Mm-hmm. So women are getting raped at a way higher rate now after this, because the guy's like, well, I'm just getting away with it. So he just starts escalating, doing it way more. And it's terrifying. There's one that we're going to get into in detail, the one that was observed by the psychic, Noreen Renier. And it's going to be... Why does that keep happening?
I heard it again that
That's
time.
Fucking weird. Is there a snake? And due to the lack of public awareness for months, young women would continue getting raped by a masked man who would climb through their windows and sometimes waiting hours, again, to strike. So you would go in their house and just wait in the closet. You would get home, take a shower, cook dinner, go to bed, and then you're in bed, and all of a sudden there's a man on top of you with a knife to your throat.
Psychotic.
It is fucking terrifying. This is my worst nightmare. But after 2 horrific assaults in July, the public had had enough. It had been going on since March.
How did they find out?
Because people knew that people get raped. It's just it wasn't like, you know, imagine this, right? A woman in the tip of fucking, well, we're close to Stockville. The tip of the fucking island by the Verrazano gets raped and no one talks about it. You're not going to find out about it, but people in the neighborhood know.
Yeah.
So this was happening, and then slowly people are like, oh, someone in your neighborhood got raped too. Well, it took months for it to be like, this is a problem for the public to realize.
I feel like back then too, people were super private, so probably being raped was more of like a shameful thing.
That is a great point. That is 100% also would play a role, and we'll get into that more actually now that you say. You're right. Yeah, a part of it is the shame of like, well, what did I do wrong? You know, I shouldn't have left the window open. I left myself vulnerable. It's my fault. Virginia doesn't just have a race problem, they have a problem with how they treat women, and that doesn't really come into the history as bad, other than they just treat women badly. But we'll see in this, they really like, again, if you weren't a white man in this town, it was just kind of like, well, I mean, do you really have a say? Like, I don't think your opinion really matters much, Carolyn, you know? A group of concerned women, it was 5 of them, would force the paper to publish the story. Because they forced them to, they made the people in power look really bad. So they just immediately started to scramble. The news finally started to write about it, though barely. They still did not write about it heavily, but they still did. They finally put a PSA out to close your fucking windows at night.
Did they say why?
Yes, but we're going to get into how they phrased it later, and they entirely made it the woman's fault. Which is funny, because we're going to get into how they said...
Like, if you leave your window open, you're inviting a raper in?
Worse. Okay. It's stupider. We'll get into it. Dumber. Sorry.
That's all right. I said raper.
So, the description of the man was a young black man. That's the description of the man, all right? So, the police claim they had a man fitting the description. Black. And he had been in custody since March. So they're claiming that the first rape happened and they immediately caught the rapist and didn't tell the public because they didn't think it was a problem because they caught the guy.
So was he having out-of-body experiences? The other rapes? Like,
Wait. So they claimed, again, he committed the first rape and the others had to be someone else. They claim that from the beginning.
So they would rather lie and say they caught the rapist and say, oh yeah, we've also got all these other rapists around town, than just say, like, we haven't caught the one serial rapist.
Yeah.
That is stupid.
And my favorite part is this completely in the same like press conference when they put all this information out, contradicts what they say, because they say in their own investigation that they concluded the suspect had to be the same person in all of the cases because of a very specific detail, which again we will get to.
But he's in jail.
Meaning the man in custody for months obviously had to be the guy raping for months. It makes no fucking sense. So they tried to pin it on this guy, and surprisingly the public was like, nah, that's not the guy. Come on. And he was just like, they literally were just like, all right, well, it didn't work. You're good to go. And they just let him go. Again, the man was found innocent after months of incarceration, which will be a running theme in the story, showing the deep-rooted racism and how it makes these types of crimes so much harder to solve. And the reason they knew the person was the same every time was strange. You ready? Mm-hmm. He would apologize to women before, during, and after the assault. So he would literally walk in, take a knife out, get on top of them, and just be like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My bad. Rape them. And as he's raping them, be like, I'm sorry.
So he knew what he was doing was wrong.
Yeah. And then he would get up and like get dressed and be like, I'm sorry. My bad. This is bad. And it's like, you're not sorry. Because if you were sorry, you wouldn't have raped me, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Or at least not do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. So he did it a lot. He raped a lot. But they knew it was the same guy because he apologized to every single person he raped.
Today's episode is brought to you by the letter R for rape and racism.
Today's episode is brought to you by the board game Sorry. So... So with no real leads and all suspects ending with nothing, or all suspects that they tried to pin with the murder ending with the public going, nah, no. The police were at a loss.
That don't add up.
And they knew it was only a matter of time before he escalated further and went from serial rapist to serial killer. And the family's victims were heartbroken as well, leading one woman to do something that would change the case entirely. Enter the psychic.
They have like a chart or something? Like, oh, he's up to his 8th rape. Next one's a murder.
I'm not even joking, basically. They were like, well, we got 5 down. It's getting close. I can feel it. Like, that was the attitude. It was nuts. Okay, so enter the psychic. So now we're going to get into the reason that I wanted to cover this fucking story.
Noreen Renier.
What the fuck?
All right. What are you doing over there?
Is it you?
No.
Are you fucking with me? You're not fucking with me?
Fucking, what, I got sleigh bells attached to my ankles?
Yeah. Oh, fuck, I thought it was there. Now that we got into the main meat of the story, which is the main crimes being committed, I just want to reiterate, right? We are now going to get into the psychic aspect, and we are going to stay on the psychic aspect of it. But I highly encourage, if you're interested in the actual case, it is fucking fascinating. Go check out the 10-part series that I use for the episode. It'll be linked in the description, the liner notes, whatever you're listening on. It'll be in whatever the description is. Go check it out. It's
Click
great.
Here.
It does require a subscription, so I am paying that paper $1 to get it for the next 6 months. But it's worth it. It's a great read. Fucking great.
Virginia's newspaper?
It is this town's newspaper. It's like a local, it's kind of like the Advance in Staten Island. So while appearing as a psychic speaker at a local college, which I don't know what that is, Noreen Renier would be given a... Jose, how are you doing this? You're fucking with me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She would be given a ring from the sister of one of the victims. Mm-hmm. She asked if she could do a quote-unquote public service and tell her what she saw when she touched it. She then claims, we're talking about Noreen here.
Noreen Renier. All right. Enough is a fucking enough. God! What are you doing?
Noreen Renier would be given the ring, and she would claim that she saw images in her mind playing out. And the way that she said it, and this is the best impression I could do of her, okay? This woman has fucking crazy eyes. She's just constantly like looking like she just saw somebody get shot.
See, and I'm thinking of, there's one of the housewives. She's known for having like crazy eyes.
I think I know what you're talking about. She got arrested, didn't she?
Yeah, she just got fired. Yeah, she got the crazy eyes.
Yeah. And she would, like, when she talks about this, she would go, and she has a very specific cadence on when she talks. So she would go, and they gave me the ring, and I took it, and when I took it, I felt it, and I felt images. And when I felt the images, there were pictures in my mind. Like she always said the last letter of the word super hard, and it's fucking fast. This lady's nuts. Absolutely nuts. Love her. Fucking Noreen, you're so hot. She's still alive, I think.
Noreen Renier, you're so smoking.
I don't understand.
From over there.
I don't think it was coming from that way. It sounded like it was coming from behind me. She's not dead, so I don't know who would be with us. She claimed she would feel the fear the rapist had on the women of the community, as well as the details of the crime, such as the attacker's description, with a mask on, where certain things happened, and details of conversation between the man and the victim. The hopeful sister recorded Noreen's findings on a recorder that she brought with her, and desperately took it back to the police to see if there was anything they could do with it, because we live in Disneyland. Yeah. The cops were initially skeptical, but once they listened to the tapes, they heard information that hadn't been recorded in the media. In fact, basically nothing had been reported in the media by the papers, police, or politicians, in hopes that it would just go away. So Noreen, knowing mostly anything about the case, was going to get their attention.
Yeah.
And it did.
So it finally made them say oh, wait, maybe we should investigate this?
So I'm telling the story as it's commonly told. We're going to get into what happened, the real events of what happened, and we're going to see that I believe that this is a very convenient explanation of what happened, because they were like, oh, we're on our last wit, we can't go. We tried everything, and she happened to stumble in and give them what they needed. But we're going to get into why I don't believe that's the case. Shocking. I don't agree with the story. After a few weeks of trying to play catch up, Daddy Tomato and Baby Tomato are walking down the block. Baby Tomato was walking a little slow, and Daddy Tomato, he turns around, he steps on him, and he goes, catch up. So when the police were trying to play catch up... You done? You done? So after a few weeks of playing catch up, that reminds me of a joke, the police were totally overwhelmed. They were getting railroaded from the public for their lack of answers to a problem that's been going on for almost a year now, while the man was assaulting women more frequently. The cases were piling up so fast... Shut the fuck up!
Sorry, edit that out.
Okay?
I have to sneeze, I'm sorry.
So the cases were piling up too fast for the police to handle, and they literally just said, screw it, and called Noreen Renier. And the best part... God fucking damn it, I knew it. I was just waiting for it.
All right, the cat's there. It's not the fucking cat. So it's not behind you.
You look just as done as we are. Just to get into this real quick, right? Basically, what happened was the cops didn't pay attention from March to July, August-ish. Mm-hmm. In September, there was a rape happened, and it was really violent. He hit her, and she was actually badly hurt, other than, the obvious fucking horrible physical. We are joking around, right? We're laughing, but I would argue that being raped is more visceral and scary than being murdered.
It's a violation of your personal, it's basically everything.
It's a violation of your personal human rights.
Where you live, it's just...
It's so fucked, especially for it to happen in your own home. When this was happening, again, it was going on for such a long time. It was going on for almost a year. The police had waited so long that by the time they started trying to get a foot on it, what was going on, it was happening so fast simultaneously. They just couldn't do everything all at once. They just ran out of manpower.
I mean, you could get away with it. He's been getting away with it for so long.
Exactly. At this point, the police want you to think that they have been working on this tirelessly and just cannot find the lead that they're looking for. So it's not the problem with the police, it's the problem with the case. The case is too hard, more or less, right?
But in reality, they were just completely inept.
And now we're going to get into the reenactment. Noreen's play in the story more, and how she really, her reading comes into play and what the actual reading is. Mm-hmm. Okay? So after a few meetings, the police concluded she was the real deal, meeting Noreen, and agreed to take the then 42-year-old psychic to the location where visions took place. So this is the house that the visions took place in. They met at the house and immediately went inside as to not discuss the case further, and the police agreed not to give her any confirmations throughout the process. This is as told by the police, just putting it out there. Noreen started to walk through the house and eventually climbing the steps and claiming out loud, he came through the window, that window, and pointed to a window at the top. It was like steps, a landing, steps. There was a window at the landing. So she said he came through that window. She claims the man climbed through the window, lost his footing, and while falling, grabbed a part of the banister with his hand. She said that is where he grabbed it and pointed to the spot. She then got to the top of the stairs and pointed at the back room. Pointed to that room and said that's where the man waited when he broke in the house. She then turned and claimed the bedroom had seen some violent activity. She then claims that she assumed the role of the victim, sits on the bed, and begins to talk out loud as if she's talking to the rapist. The whole time, she has a notepad in her hand. She's drawing a circle over and over as she's just talking out loud, right? She then says the one detail police had not told anyone, and she claims that he was now apologizing to her for what he was doing. Then lastly, she claimed the man was wearing a uniform, and then concluded the visions. So basically, she walked in, said he came through that from that window, waited in that room for her to get home, went in the room, raped her, apologized the whole time while he did it. That was her vision. So now we're going to compare the vision to what actually happened according to the police. And according to the cops, a man took a ladder for the yard, leaned it up against the house, the second floor window, climbed in through the window, getting his way into the house. Once he got through the window, he tripped and caught himself on the banister. And they know that because the only fingerprints that they were able to find, or handprints in general, was a palm print on the specific part of the balcony she pointed to. It's the only place they found fingerprints in multiple assaults. Mm-hmm. The only place. It's kind of nuts. Before, and then, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this before. When he fell through the window and he tripped and held the banister, he then went to that back room that she pointed to and sat and waited for like 2 hours for the woman to get home. Just sat.
Oh, because she was out.
Exactly. She was out with her friends. And they said that she basically got home, went in her room, and was like a fucking movie, out loud, like, oh, I'm happy to be home, and then got raped. Moral of the story, she fucking nailed it. She nailed every aspect of the story down to the palm print, where it was. Fucking crazy shit. Really crazy, right? They then take Noreen to another crime scene, another house where this happened, where she yet has another vision. This time she claims to possibly see where the man lived. She claimed to have seen a movie theater and a large brick building. She then claims she went into his body and found he had a very large scar in his left side knee, causing him to limp. With that information, the police move forward. You know how when people are like, oh, I'm a psychic, and it's like, oh, what am I going to eat tomorrow for breakfast, right? That whole joke. Okay. Like, that is like, obviously, that's not how it supposedly works. There's obviously that's breaking it down really dumb, right? But if you're able to go into the fucking person's body and see where they lived, why wouldn't you just do that from the beginning? Why would you go through the rape?
Is she saying she has like the trauma of like going through the whole experience?
More or less. Again, not good. It's not good. You look disappointed. You look defeated.
I'm disappointed in Noreen.
You're like,
I expected more from Noreen Renier. It was funny like the first 4 times, but now how are you doing it?
I'm not. The investigation continues. On the tip of Noreen. On the tip of Noreen. The police start to stake out the local movie theater, considering 1, it had a large brick building across the street, just like Noreen said, and 2, it was a very small 2 to 3 mile radius of the attacks, showing the incompetence of the police department, but that's beside the point. I write that sentence a lot going from this point forward. While doing this stakeout, a random call would come in of a man caught looking into a young girl's window. Once they tracked down the suspect, they noticed the man had a limp and promptly arrested him. Not because he had a limp, because he was looking at a young girl through her window. They claimed they knew they had the right guy. Right then, the cops were looking at each other going, this is the guy. We got him.
We got him. No trial necessary, Bill.
Now, mind you,
we got him.
This is now the 3rd arrested person because they thought they got him 2 other times.
Yeah, well, the guy was in prison all month long.
So it turns out, after that guy got released, they were like, we might have a second guy that might have done the second one, but it couldn't have been him because we thought a different guy did the first one. So I think that guy's innocent too. That guy lasted in jail. He almost spent life in prison for this, and he only got off because this guy got caught.
He went to trial and everything?
Yep. He was in jail, and he only got arrested. He only was let go because of this incident.
So no evidence, nothing.
Nothing.
But they convicted him.
He's black.
That was the evidence.
Yeah, he's black. So that was the mentality of the town. Not me.
Mm-hmm. In
1979, yep. Yeah. And to make it even more concrete, he lived across the street from the theater in the brick building. And he was promptly arrested and charged with attempted breaking and entering because they're not going to just charge him with rape after, they need to make sure it's him. And to do that, the police took his palm prints and asked to see his left knee, which they even said, what's kind of odd for us to ask? Like, let me see your left knee. Wow, that's a big scar you got there. A psychic told us that. I would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? A psychic told you I had a large scar on my knee and that's why you're arresting me? But turns out they got him right because they took him for a ride and they started passing scenes of past rapes. And he would go on to confess not only the rapes, but the robberies. At first claiming he just did robberies, and then as the time went on, a call came in while they were showing him the houses. And they told him, hey, the palm prints came back. Turns out you got the rapist in your car. And he was like, you got me. Let me tell you about the rapes. And told them all about them. Confessed to everything. Got that other dude off.
Yeah.
Totally let free that day. He was just like, well, my bad. Scapegoat. See you later. Bye. And the Staunton Stalker was finally in the hands of the law. He was then charged. He went to jail forever. And the end. So that's the tale of the Staunton Strangler. But what really fucking happened? Stalker.
Not the Scranton Strangler here.
That's why I keep saying
it is.
If you've watched this show before, you know this point's coming. The story, there's a lot of fluff to it. And as I said earlier, I truly believe that the story of the psychic helping with the investigation is just to cover up the fact that the police were incompetent and didn't do what they needed to do, and then got a psychic on board to go, she gave us the answer we were looking for. But we're going to find out, not really the truest thing. The reality behind this case is sad and sickening. That's me throwing up.
Surprising.
A lot of women were assaulted, some of them raped. While black men were targeted, 2 of them wrongly accused. And this was entirely due to lazy police work and deep-rooted beliefs. The people in charge of the town, including the police, the heads of media, and everyone else, protected each other and collectively agreed not to investigate these crimes properly, instead warning women not to dress provocatively in their own homes and to use hairspray as a weapon. The PSA I was talking about earlier, I wanted to wait till now just to give you how fucking ridiculous it is. Mm-hmm. Basically, women were told, don't dress like you're going to get raped, and you won't get raped. They got raped in their house, going to bed. She's wearing a nightgown. You're going to tell her, don't wear a nightgown, it's too revealing when you're in bed sleeping? What the fuck is wrong with you? And this was how the town handled this entire thing. They were all like, well, the women, they had it coming somehow. But at the same time, blaming the black men in the community, like, how can you do this to our people? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, which one is it? Is it the woman's fault or is it the black man's fault? You can't blame them both simultaneously. Because I'm going to say it's the rapist's fault. Turns out it doesn't matter who did it. It's just the person that did it's fault. And no one else, except maybe the fucking incompetent police department.
The incompetent police department definitely has a lot of blame.
They also told them to hit, don't spray them, hit them with hairspray, like with the can. Stop raping me.
Anything else they could pop.
Stop raping me.
A million things that you could use as a weapon.
Yeah, a knife. The point is, the police totally botched this case, hoping it would solve itself.
Didn't they all have guns?
The point is, the police totally botched this case, hoping it would solve itself. But it didn't, obviously. And it grew larger than they thought was possible. And by trying to cover it up and save the face of the town, they accidentally created this legend, which helps hide the real problems. With this being said, I would highly recommend you go read the article in the News Leader. And if you are truly interested in the true crime side of the story, as I said before, it's massively written and a great insight on the non-paranormal aspects of the case, even though they do talk a large part in the psychic, because it's a huge part of the story. But this isn't, again, a true crime podcast. So let's get into our most important question. Did Noreen really help the case at all? You could tell by the next topic, it's called false prophet. Not looking so good for Noreen Renier.
Thinking you believe her. Okay.
I find Noreen's visions, if true, to be extremely compelling. The taped vision helped sell her lack of knowledge about the situation because she was taped way before she knew any details, way before the public knew any details. And being able to identify Robinson's scar and limp are amazing things. Very, very impressive. But unfortunately, none of these things actually played a role in finding or convicting Robinson. Though she was spot on about a play-by-play of the 2 assaults, the police admitted in the Psychic Investigators episode they already had all the info and she had just helped them confirm that. She was telling them things that they knew. She was confirming the story that they already had, that they thought happened. That's not giving them new things, as incredible as that is. If I told you what you had for breakfast today, it doesn't now solve your mystery of what you know what you had for breakfast. Nothing new is learned. And she didn't give any information that wasn't already known. The cops were called out to confront a young man who was watching a young girl through her window. Once caught, they brought him in and compared his palm print to what they found at the home of another rape. This would have been done whether Noreen was involved or not. It was a man watching a young girl in her window and they got called. It doesn't matter that she told him he lived across the street. All of the things that happened would have been done whether Noreen was involved or not. The palm prints, getting a match, arresting him that night, the call coming in, nothing had to do with Noreen. The man was confessing when the palm print came back as a match, leaving all of the details that she had, even if none of them were new, as useless because he just admitted every single crime to them. The show tries to cleverly make it seem like they only caught Robinson because they were out watching the theater that night, according to Noreen's word, go watch the theater. And they make it sound like they were like, make sure you go watch the theater. And they went and watched the theater, and because they were there, they were able to catch this guy, which is not the fucking case at all. It is 100% not the case. The show, again, tries to cleverly say that they only caught Robinson because they were out watching the theater that night because of what Noreen said. But they would have been doing that anyway, considering there was a fucking serial rapist out in the town. This is something they should have been doing. They shouldn't be cheered for doing their job when there's a serial rapist who they let get this far. And lastly, as for Noreen saying the man lived in a brick building by the theater, I also have an issue with this. According to police, all the assaults happened in a 2 to 3 mile radius, with the theater basically in the center of that. The theater is in the center of the town area where this happened. Every building in the 2 to 3 mile radius in the vicinity of the theater would be considered close to the theater because the town is more than like 6 miles wide. So if you're 15 miles away from the theater and a house is 2 miles away, you're going to say that house is close to the theater. Yeah. That means nothing. It's a brick building, right? Well, this is what makes it worse. Every fucking building in the neighborhood is brick. Look it up if you don't believe me. I looked it up on Google Maps. Present day, 2022, the entire block, every block is lined with brown brick buildings. Brown or blue. Those are the 2 colors. It is fucking ridiculous. This means nothing. This is like she just threw something out and it just stuck.
And the cops were so desperate that they just went with it.
I don't even think that's the case. And we're leading into the
so
major
they may
point.
be desperate for not a scapegoat, but in a way a scapegoat. Like,
yes, exactly. That's where I'm going. Is they weren't desperate for an answer. They were desperate for an excuse to get the answer that they've had the whole time and didn't do their job enough to say. So more or less, Noreen told them everything that they knew already, but they acted like it was the first time they heard it, so that people would be like, wow, the psychic did that, and not, wow, the police did nothing. That's more or less what happened. It's disgusting. It's really fucked up. And in conclusion, as I felt with Rosemary Kerr, I feel Noreen meant well, even if her role, in my opinion, was greatly overstated. The difference is Rosemary Kerr's case, again, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to that episode. It's with Jose. It's fantastic. It was a much more impressive case, and it led to a direct intervention with the suspects. She told them, go to this town and drive here and you will find them. And she did. It wasn't a vague, this is what happened, and then something totally unrelated caught the suspects. It didn't happen that way. I will still say Rosemary Kerr is by far the closest I've ever believed to actually believing psychics are real. She is unbelievable. Her whole career is unreal. This time, Noreen's readings are fascinating, but played zero role in the solving of the case, as I said. I truly believe the psychic part of the case gets the most attention because those involved would rather you believe the universe solved the tragic case instead of the police department letting one man become a menace due to their inaction. And that is the best way to put it. The cops did nothing, got called out for doing nothing, and instead of just saying, we fucked up, they said, well, it's not that we did nothing, we ran out of leads and the psychic helped us, when that is not the case at all. It was fucking complete blind luck that they found this guy. He fucked up enough to get caught. That's all that happened.
He got cocky.
So yeah, so that is the story of fucking the Staunton Stalker. And the reason that no names are mentioned, I'm sorry, of the rapists is because they're all young, and I don't believe that their names could be released. They were all like 17, 16, which is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
A college girl got raped her first year there.
If they were also young, why were they alone?
They were in their house.
But like, where were their parents?
16, my parents would leave me home.
So then he knew enough to know
he canvassed these people,
when these young girls would specifically be home alone. Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't like a Richard Ramirez type of serial rapist where he would just walk down the block, and if your house looked good, he'd go rape you for no reason other than you're evil. He was casing them for long periods of time. It was more of like a...
It's even crazier.
Yeah, it's much more, again, of like a Albert Salva type thing, like the Boston Stranglers type thing.
Did they ever, like, was there ever a reason behind this? Because since he confessed, did he ever say why?
Like, it seems like he had a long history of violence and break-ins, and he actually had gotten arrested, and he was put in jail for an attempted rape, and then got out and immediately left and moved to Staunton. And within 3 days of moving there, the first rape happened. The first break-in happened. So he immediately was right back on it. He just seems like the type, just a career criminal type. He just likes the thrill of it, and he got addicted to it, and that's it. He's not going back. Unfortunately, when this happens, serial killers and serial rapists, it's crazy. It's like once it's turned on, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to shut it off forever in a way that's like you're actually going to get away with it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it goes to show you why, like, towns back then, they were so untrusting of newcomers.
Yeah. Because newcomers were probably coming there to escape something. Yeah.
And there was no Google.
No.
Or,
Yeah. Back then, like, it's crazy. I look at my family. My whole family was born and raised on Staten Island. And the thought of living here until I'm dead and having my grandchildren here is gross. And it's not because I don't like Staten Island. It's just because, like, why would you want to live in one place forever? But I forget, like, at this time, because of the internet, I feel that way. Yeah. But if I didn't have the internet, it's scary to move fucking 3 hours away from your family. Like, that's scary.
My grandmother's been here since she was 2 months old and has never lived anywhere else.
You know what's crazy? My grandma lived in a house in South Beach on the corner of a block, and her house is 3 blocks away from her childhood house growing up. It's fucking absurd. It's absurd.
My grandmother just moved out of her childhood home.
That's so crazy.
Like 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
She was moved in this house when she was 2 years old. Her dad built it. Her husband added onto it, made it bigger. But yeah, no, she lived there for like 80 something years. And that, like, I can't imagine that. Like,
yeah, that's crazy to me. You wouldn't get bored? You know, like, I like this apartment. I'm ready to go.
But back then, there was like...
I'm like, wow, this looks the same.
There was nothing... They didn't have, like, reality TV.
I mean, they didn't even... back
House
then,
Hunters.
It was before color. It was before, like, nothing was invented yet. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Yeah, this was great. It's a little bit... I'm going to be honest with you. I was sick all week. The episode is a little bit less... a little bit less, like, deep divey than we usually go. And it's just because this was fun. I just wanted to do this episode. It was a cool topic. But I'm happy if you listened this far. Thank you. Make sure you follow us on everything. Plug your fuck.
Broke_Royals.
Broke_Royals.
OMGITZ Jose.
Oh my God, it's Jose.
It's Jose.
Oh my God, it's Jose.
Yeah, I'm lazy. Why change social media?
I love oh my God, it's Jose. The first time you told me that, I laughed.
Everyone always thinks it's funny, so like at this point, why change it?
It is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining. We got a bunch of really cool episodes coming up soon. The next like 3 episodes I'm really excited for. This was like the step back into it. So we're going to start with the psychic, and then we're going to go to a little bit of a Thanksgiving tinged thing. And then the beginning of December, we got a fun little surprise with our man Christopher over here. Have a great night, everybody. Make sure that, like I said, go follow everything. I just spit on my laptop. Go follow everything. Go follow Jose on everything that he put. I love you.